During a routine excavation near a dry river, construction workers made a startling discovery: an ancient statue hidden beneath the layers of sediment. As they carefully unearthed the relic, a sense of awe overcame them. However, their faces went pale when the ancient statue unexpectedly broke open. Revealed inside was not just history, but something that hinted at a connection to a realm beyond, leaving the workers stunned and questioning the nature of their find. The workers were looking at each other in shock. They all put their hands up, indicating that they had nothing to do with the sudden break of the statue. The men were starting to get very nervous. They had already called their supervisor and had described the find to him. He was on his way to them, and they would have to show him the destroyed statue. How could they convince him that it was not their fault? But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. But as most of the men were overcome with worry, one of the construction workers named Michael was too curious as to what could have happened to really be nervous. Again, as he got closer to the broken statue, his co-worker shouted at him to step away. When their superior would see him, he might suspect that Michael was to blame for this. But Michael did not care. Michael quickly realized that the broken statue was in fact hollow, which made it even weird that it had survived for so long under the weight of the sand. He was not an expert on historical artifacts, but he doubted that people thousands of years ago could make something so detailed and thin without breaking it. This statue did not feel as old as he and his co-workers had first anticipated. He started to have a sneaking suspicion that this statue might actually have been made with modern technology. And when he communicated this to his co-workers, they became a lot less scared of what they could be blamed for. But the fact that this statue was potentially made fairly recently raised a lot of other questions. Why was it made to look so old, and why was it buried at this construction site? Even though the statue was in fact hollow, Michael discovered that it was not empty. His confusion only increased as he saw that the giant head was filled with what seemed to be gold coins, and at first glance they did look very old. But just as Michael was about to reach in and grab a handful, somebody shouted at him to stop and step back. It was a voice that Michael was very familiar with. A voice that had shouted at him many times already. It was his supervisor. And as Michael turned around, he saw that the man was not alone. A lot of other vehicles started to pull up to the site. Most of them were from local and national news stations, but there were also some police officers accompanying them. Michael's supervisor, flanked by police officers and visibly agitated, made a beeline for him. "What on earth is going on here?" Michael demanded, barely containing his frustration. Michael knew he was walking a tightrope, needing to balance the truth with his supervisor's expectations. And the supervisor, sensing the opportunity for publicity but also the risk of scandal, whispered harshly, "Handle this carefully, Michael. Our company's reputation is at stake." With a deep breath, Michael stepped forward to address the sea of microphones thrust in his direction. "We were conducting routine excavation when we uncovered this statue," he began, his voice steady. "Michael, unfortunately, it was damaged during the process, but we were amazed to discover what appears to be ancient gold coins inside the lie. Tasted bitter on his tongue. But Michael hoped it would be enough to deflect further scrutiny for now. The following day, Michael found himself in the supervisor's office, the morning light casting long shadows across the room. "I think the statue might not be as old as we claimed," Michael confessed, unable to keep the truth to himself any longer. The supervisor's face darkened, his disappointment palpable. "Do you realize what you're suggesting? That could mean we're part of a hoax. Think about the repercussions." The conversation turned tense as they debated their next steps. Ultimately, the supervisor made a difficult decision. "We stick to the story," he declared, his tone leaving no room for argument. "For now, we maintain that the statue is ancient. It's about damage control." Michael felt a surge of frustration but understood the precarious position they were in. In the days that followed, Michael struggled with the weight of the lie. Each interview and statement he gave reinforcing the story of the ancient statue and its contents chipped away at his integrity. Michael decided that no matter the cost, he would uncover the real story behind the statue and the coins. He began his own investigation into the statue, starting with the company that could have created such a convincing replica. Hours of research led him to a local company known for producing movie props and historical replicas. Michael's heart raced as he found images that closely resembled their ancient find. After making contact with the prop company, Michael awaited their response with bated breath. The reply came sooner than expected, confirming his suspicions. "Yes, we did create a statue matching your description," the email read. For a client last month, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, and Michael felt a mix of relief and apprehension. Armed with this new information, he prepared to confront the buyer. Michael's journey led him to the address provided by the prop company, a nondescript building on the outskirts of the city. As he approached the door, his mind raced with possibilities. Inachini knocked on the door, ready to confront whatever lay on the other side. The door creaked open, revealing a man in his late 50s, his expression a mix of surprise and resignation. Michael introduced himself, explaining his connection to the statue. The man sighed deeply, inviting Michael inside. "I suppose it was only a matter of time before someone figured it out," he began, leading Michael into a study filled with books and artifacts. Michael listened intently, torn between admiration for the man's dedication to preservation and frustration over the deception. "You realize the chaos you've caused," Michael pointed out, the complexity of the situation weighing heavily on him. The man nodded, his gaze dropping. "I do, and I regret the trouble it's caused, but I couldn't stand by and watch history be paved over without a fight." Michael, moved by the passion and depth of the man's research, felt a renewed sense of purpose. They agreed to work together to present the findings, hoping to secure a proper archaeological evaluation of the area. In the days that followed, Michael and the man, now introduced as Jonathan, worked tirelessly to compile all existing evidence of the site's historical significance. Realizing the power of public support, they organized a community meeting to share their findings. The locals, many of whom were unaware of the site's potential historical value, were quickly galvanized by the presentation. To further their cause, Michael and Jonathan reached out to the media, this time to share the true story behind the hoax and the historical importance of the site. The narrative of a community fighting to preserve its history struck a chord with a wider audience. Armed with public support and compelling evidence, they approached the local government, requesting an official halt to the construction project. The request was met with interest, as officials recognized the significance of the find and the public's growing concern. The local government's response to the appeal was swift. They commissioned an archaeological team to conduct a preliminary survey of the site. As the experts arrived equipped with their tools and instruments, the community watched with bated breath. The excavation began, and within days, the team made several promising finds. Fragments of pottery, ancient tools, and even the remnants of old structures started to emerge from the soil. Each discovery was a testament to the site's significance, validating Michael and Jonathan's claims. The construction company, faced with mounting public pressure and undeniable evidence of the site's historical value, found themselves at a crossroads. Negotiations began between the developers, the local government, and representatives from the community. Michael and Jonathan played a crucial role in these discussions, advocating for a solution that would protect the site while considering the developers' interests. After weeks of deliberation, a compromise was reached. The development project would be relocated to an alternative site, while the original location would be designated as a protected historical area. This agreement marked a significant victory for the community and for heritage preservation. Michael and Jonathan's efforts had not only uncovered a piece of history, but had also saved it for future generations. The protected historical site became a focal point for education and tourism, offering a tangible connection to the past. Michael and Jonathan were recognized for their efforts, their story inspiring others to take action in their own communities. In the weeks that followed, Michael found himself at the forefront of a new initiative. Inspired by their victory, he and Jonathan began working on a project to document and share the stories of similar historical sites across the region. Their goal was to create a network of preserved landmarks, each with its own story of community and perseverance. Part of their initiative included an educational program aimed at schools. They wanted to instill a sense of historical stewardship in the younger generation. Their story had become a beacon of hope, showing that even small groups could make a significant impact. In the end, the hoax that had started it all became a footnote in a much larger story. The efforts to protect the land had fostered a sense of community and historical awareness that transcended the initial deceit. As Michael looked back, he realized that their journey had demonstrated the unpredictable ways in which a single act, even one born from desperation, could lead to significant and lasting contributions to cultural heritage and communal identity.